Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're breaking down the rapidly shifting dynamics and power structures in English football, pulling straight from some absolutely fascinating recent sports radio punditry. We've got a ton of ground to cover, but the massive theme running through all of this? Why Arsenal is suddenly facing immense, undeniable title pressure this season. With historic baggage dropped and serious money spent, the landscape is literally shifting right under our feet. So let's get into it.
Okay, real quick, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to kick things off with Arsenal's midfield game changer, then look at why the pressure is actually off for them in one specific sense. After that, we'll examine Liverpool's high-press transition, City's potential title crisis, and finally, wrap up with Southampton's wild redemption arc. As we go through these, keep in mind how every single one of these rival transitions feeds directly back into the massive expectations now resting on Arsenal's shoulders.
Section 1. Arsenal's midfield game changer, the arrival of Bruno Guimarães. Let's jump right into the biggest breaking news, reshaping the top of the table.
If you want to know why the title pressure is suddenly squarely on Arsenal, look no further than this. They have officially signed Bruno Guimarães from Newcastle United for a jaw-dropping £75 million. Now, when a club drops that kind of money, the expectation instantly flips from just, competing to outright winning. It's a massive statement of intent that completely shakes up the balance of power in the Premier League. What's really interesting here is how he replaces outgoing squad players, like Norad, who went off to Everton. Guimarães brings this top-tier versatility to Arsenal's midfield. I mean, he's like a tactical Swiss Army knife for them. He can play as a holding midfielder, operate as a number 8, or even push further forward into the attack. That kind of rotation, that gives Arsenal the elite depth you usually only see in perennial champions. And this quote right here brilliantly illustrates the real-world benefit, keeping their other star midfielders fresh for that brutal final stretch. The pundits pointed out that with Guimarães in the mix, Declan Rice isn't going to be, as they put it, breathing out of his backside when we hit the grueling title run-in. That late-season fatigue has absolutely cost them before. So by addressing it directly, the expectation is crystal clear. Arsenal must go all the way. Moving right along to Section 2, the pressure is off, Arsenal's new era. This huge signing feeds right into a massive psychological shift at the Emirates. So while the title pressure is absolutely mounting because of the spending and the squad strength, a totally different, older kind of pressure has basically evaporated. By finally getting over the line after 22 years of, pain and desperation, the players can actually take a breath. They're shedding that bottle job narrative for good. But here's the fascinating paradox, right? By dropping the pressure of desperation, they've invited the pressure of expectation. They aren't the plucky underdogs anymore, they are the heavyweights. And because of this newfound freedom from the past, pundits suspect Mikel Arteta, who's often described as a bit of a positive control freak, might just release the hounds, so to speak, and let his team play with way less restriction. Without that fear of the bottle job label hanging over their heads, we could be looking at a much more dynamic, expansive Arsenal side stepping onto the pitch this year.
We might even see a shift in their set pieces, moving away from those aggressively physical corners, which, some pundits noted with a tiny bit of bitterness, to more in-vogue short corners next season. It's a complete tactical evolution born out of pure confidence. They don't have to rely on sheer physical desperation anymore. They've got the squad and the mindset to just dictate the game on their own terms.
So, with Arsenal relaxed and reinforced, who is going to be their biggest challenger? This brings us to the biggest reason why Arsenal faces such intense title pressure. While they are totally consolidated, their biggest rivals are stepping into the great unknown. Section 3, Liverpool's high-press transition, replacing the stagnant. Let's see what's happening at Anfield.
Our pundits quickly pointed to Liverpool, where massive changes in expectations and tactics are colliding head-on. The post-Klopp era is officially here. Look at this brutal contrast in pressure. Arne Slot is stepping into a world where anything less than perfection is a literal global crisis, and he's dealing with way bigger egos than a manager would at a club like, say, Bournemouth. The source material drew a direct comparison to Iriola at Bournemouth, who can lose 3 or 4 games and stay totally under the radar. At Liverpool, a 3-game winless streak is worldwide headline news. Slot has to navigate that intense microscope from day one.
On top of that media pressure, you've got the tactical demands. Liverpool fans were reportedly pretty unhappy with the play becoming too stagnant recently, and they want to return to that ferocious high press. Now, if Slot can successfully implement the high press the fans are craving while managing those massive egos, the pundits believe Liverpool could be Arsenal's nearest challengers. But honestly, that is a massive, massive if during a transitional season. Which brings us to Section 4, City's potential title crisis, the brain drain.
What about the reigning giants, Manchester City? According to the source, a complete change of style and personnel is brewing over there, basically leaving the door wide open for Arsenal to seize the crown. With Enzo Morsa heading in to replace an absolute managerial legend, there is an unimaginable amount of pressure on his shoulders. The pundits noted that stepping into those shoes requires a complete change of style, creating a massive vacuum of certainty at the very top of the club. Add to that a massive transition of leadership on the pitch. It's actually staggering when you think about it. City is facing the potential exit of absolute foundational pillars. We're talking Bernardo Silva, John Stones, and perhaps most devastatingly, Rodri. This isn't just a normal squad transition, it's a potential brain drain of their core leadership. Let's focus on Rodri for a second. Barcelona are currently the frontrunners for his signature, with a starting bid of £35 to £36 million expected to climb all the way up to £55 million as he enters the final year of his contract. The pundits noted that Rodri has already ruled out Real Madrid, but specifically wants Barcelona. And Man City generally don't keep players against their will. This quote brilliantly illustrates the severity of the situation for City. The punditry was crystal clear. If they lose a player of Rodri's caliber, they believe Man City's title hopes are completely over. Zero chance. So you combine a brand new manager with the loss of their midfield engine, and you can see exactly why the title expectation is violently shifting toward North London this year. Finally, Section 5. Southampton's redemption arc, spies, and the Carabao Cup. Let's step away from the title race for a minute and look at a fascinating lower league narrative unfolding this weekend. It perfectly highlights how pressure and controversy manifest differently across English football. We're looking at the Perry Groves derby between Colchester United and Southampton in the Carabao Cup first round. What's incredible here is that 1,500 traveling Southampton fans are flocking to a first-round cup tie to see their team under manager Tone Richard. The pundits noted this shows some real dedication, proving that cup competitions still hold massive weight when a team is fighting for a redemption arc. So why all the focus on the Southampton manager? Well, if he was just an average manager, he'd be long gone by now. But his highly impressive 62% win rate has kept him securely in the job, despite a massive off-pitch scandal. Because in football, winning is the ultimate currency. It buys you forgiveness. And he really needed that forgiveness because he just survived this bizarre Dad's Army spying scandal. Analysts with literally twigs coming out of their heads were caught watching opposition training sessions. The manager's excuse? He blamed it on differing cultural rules, claiming he thought it was acceptable here just like it is in Germany and Italy. The pundits found this excuse highly unbelievable, obviously, but because of that 62% win rates, the club hierarchy firmly backed him. Despite the expulsion and a super frustrating lack of clear punishment guidelines from the authorities, the hierarchy stood by him. And looking at this data proves exactly why. 21 games unbeaten overall, 19 matches unbeaten in the championship, a massive playoff win over Middlesbrough, and now they sit as the outright favorites to win the championship. It is an incredible redemption arc, built on resilience and, frankly, undeniable on-pitch results. To wrap up this explainer, player Flynn Downs perfectly captures the mood at Southampton right now. They're going to play with chips on their shoulders. The team feels hard done by, they're circling the wagons, and they're using all that controversy as pure fuel. So as we look at the entire landscape of English football today, from Southampton turning a spying scandal into a championship charge, to Liverpool and Manchester City navigating massive, chaotic transitions, to Arsenal dropping their historic baggage and spending huge money, the stage is beautifully set. With giants facing internal crises and underdogs rising with a massive point to prove, who will actually thrive under the overwhelming new pressures of English football? Will Arsenal finally capitalize, or will the expectation crush them once again? Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and keep your eyes on the pitch.